What, on that note then, what makes it easy for you then, Angela? So as a specialist coming in, what are some things that make it easier for you to do your piece of the puzzle well? So let's say somebody appreciates the value of design. They help get the strategy. Now they get an expert. What makes it easy for somebody like you to come in and do what you do so it works really well and more fluidly?
Well, probably, you know, it comes back to that strategy being clear, and some clients have very strong ideas, which is great, but they have to remember that this is about their brand and not about them.
Mm-hmm.
So being subjective is quite, you know, a big part of design, and thinking about, okay, well, it's not because I'm not going to do a blue because I like blue. I'm going to do a blue because blue is the right color. And that can be a bit of a leap for some people who are used to picking things because they like them. What you've got to do is think about what this is going to do for you, not as something that represents you necessarily. And separating yourself from your brand can be quite hard for a lot of clients. So if they can do that, if we can make them see what their target market needs, and they start to understand that, then they start to change their perception about their brand, and it moves from being a personal thing to being, you know, something like or it's business or whatever it is. It's something separate to themselves that has its own life.
That's a great starting point. Learn to separate. In fact, it makes me think the first book I wrote, and I was working with the editor on that, and somebody had told me, be willing to let go of your babies, or let go of whatever your editor says, like listen to it. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I took that on board. And you do. It's the same thing as an author writing a book, same this time. You got to listen to the advice. That's what they're there to do, to be willing to let go of your babies, willing to let go of your attachment to your favorite color, your favorite shape, your favorite concept.
It does take trust. And I think that's important, you know, as I said before, about working with the right people, but it takes a bit of courage as well to sort of, sometimes it's stepping you out of your comfort zone, and courage is important to do something that has impact and shifts you forward, like moves the needle. You've got to have a bit of courage and trust that these people can see what you're not seeing because you're very close to it.
So I know another thing that springs to mind for me, and I'm the same in my field, is that you use the word yourself, the more transparent somebody is, the more they trust me and the more transparent their conversations are with me, the more I can bespoke the keynote or the programs to hit the outcomes they want. And it's the same, I know, in your world, because whenever and I've let you know, the briefs we have, we're very clear. I'm very clear. We walk through, we ask the questions. So I think that there's something in there as well about the clarity of the brief.
100%.
Is really quite important. You know, expand on that for us a bit as well. What do you find? What are some things people can do for their designers to make that brief so much better or clearer to understand?
So one of the approaches we take is that we actually have to help our clients get that clarity. So we usually ask a lot of questions that they're a bit like scratching their head, why are they asking this? But the reason we ask those questions is because we want to delve deeper than that sort of surface level response. We don't want to just react. We want to have a deep understanding. So we workshop a lot of things with new clients, especially around branding, and we delve into a lot of those areas about, you know, purpose and values that start to uncover who they really are and what their brand value is. And it's interesting how people shy away from that to start with. But when they get it and they see it how it is represented in their business, it shifts them, you know, and then what we start producing for them is a lot better quality stuff.
And then they get it, right? Once that penny drops, then they don't go back, right?
They don't. It's like you can't unknow stuff, you know. Once you know your purpose, you're like, oh, I kind of know that now. I've got to keep going.
Exactly. The skill you're defining there is very much like sales 101, is the quality of the questions you ask elicits the quality information to put in place the right solution. So based on that, what are some great questions that you find that you guys focus on asking to help get clients that deeper understanding? What might be examples of some of those questions?
So some of the things we ask them is how they spend their, you know, if it's a personal brand, a lot of the times, which a lot of startups are, is how brands that inspire them. and why they're inspired by them, because a lot of the times there's actually a similar value system happening. So for example, in a workshop, we might ask someone who they like, and they might say Apple, and you say, well, why do you like Apple? And it's because, you know, they're clear about their purpose. Everything's sort of centered around that one idea, and it's quality and innovation. So, and then you go, well, how does that represent in your business? And you can see some similarities. So there's, you know, thinking about it bigger than your little industry is sometimes good, because we're always very close to our industry. Maybe we understand our competitors, but if you look outside the industry about people that are doing things well that we admire, there's probably a reason why we admire them. So that can start to open your mind about who you could be. You know, if you're similar to Apple, then, you know, the world's your oyster, aren't you? If that's your values.
Yeah.
So that's just one example comes to mind. There's lots of questions.
I'm sure that's a good start. So your business, and we'll expand on this a bit more, because there's two main, well, you do more than two, but there's two kind of main aspects of what you do as a designer, right? Because there's lots of different ones. You focus on brand design and brand elements, but you also focus on space or environment installation design, right? Is that right? That's the two kind of main.
That's right. So it's always been that sort of split personality I've had a little bit, I guess, but I have a really strong interest in architecture, and I've always been drawn to those projects. And what I've realized after many years of thinking, oh, should I choose one or the other, is that two actually work really well together. So understanding brand is really helpful when we talk about, so for environments, what I'm talking about there is wayfinding signage or wall graphics, or we call them placemaking graphics. So when you're in a space, things on the walls or the glass or the floor that help to create a sense of the brand in that space or the place, so that you have a completely different experience than you would if there was nothing there. So we think about it now as brand experience. So for us, the brand experience goes from creating that strategy at the beginning, how your brand identity looks, all the way through to all the things that you apply your brand to, the touch points. And then a really important part of that, which sometimes gets forgotten, is the space that you work in. So sometimes we're employed to do just those projects, and that could be for hospitals or you know, retail and urban developments. But we always think we'll put our branding hat on even in those situations. It's about how's that experience reflecting the brand.
Yeah, it's a great, you know, we are in the experience economy. Are you familiar with Qualtrics, the experience management company? So no. I love that business. I know a couple of leaders in there, but they're an experience management leader, really. And they talk about the 4X's, the 4 experiences being product, brand, employee, customer.
Yep.
And you're reiterating that there as well, right? That brand experience is, you know, translated into space as well. And
yeah, it's definitely the future of branding, because, you know, we have really high expectations now of our experiences based on, you know, what we see online and our experiences online. We have a short attention span, or we have, you know, design has come a long way in our lives. It's a bigger part of everybody's life. And so your experience in a place, if it's lousy, it's going to reflect really badly on that brand. So it's really important that people take it into account.